Well, thank you. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I would really like to thank Sir Steve Smith for including my wife, Mireille, and myself in this memorable milestone event. Truly, I do believe that, for Exeter and its dynamic university. The RILD expands the health presence, and I really believe that, of England's southwest, and also expands the national contributions from this region. And that, I think, is quite critical. As one builds critical mass, the contributions obviously then increase, and this is a critical mass builder. Exeter is creating its own opportunity to be a major player in the new healthcare world, evolving from the trends, and there are two big ones, I think, towards personalized, stratified precision medicine and the explosion of health data. Knowledge in the medical sciences and related fields is growing rapidly on two major fronts. First, by going deeper. This depth, I think, is very critical, and it's interesting, we've got depth and breadth at the same time. By going deeper, medical knowledge is expanding at the molecular level, and we've heard that walking around the building today, to increase understanding of human biology together with the causes and progression of disease. Exciting advances are taking place, for example, in genomic medicine, sequencing, bioinformatics, and biobanks. A wonderful example are recent improvements in cancer treatments to increase survival. This illustrates the power of molecular medicine. Earlier in my career, cancer looked unbeatable, and now we can see 80% of cancers essentially being cured over the next 20 years. So going deeper is the first. The second is going broader. We are gaining knowledge about real-world outcomes through big data, big computing power, and sophisticated analytics. Data are the new currency. Predictive power is the new knowledge base. And the impact on life sciences and human health will be dramatic. This brave new world of breadth is interdisciplinary and collaborative, the embodiment of RILD. It will answer big questions. What therapy works best? What is the cost impact? What is the effect on quality of life? Now, the National Health Service sets out its view of key healthcare drivers in a 2012 report entitled The Delivery of 21st Century Services: The Implications for the Evolution of the Healthcare Science Workforce. These drivers will not surprise you. They include, first, an aging population. The proportion of over 85-year-olds will double over the next 20 years. The number of people over 65 living alone will rise from 3 million in 2010 to almost 5 million in the early 2030s. So aging, we hear so much about. Second is chronic disease management. This will require more complex decision-making. For example, the number of people with 3 or more chronic disease conditions will increase by 50% in the current decade. And the third trend talked about in the NHS paper is personalized medicine, which I have already highlighted. The critical issue as we move in the direction of personalized medicine is that it could mean a complete reorganization of the way we teach doctors and deliver health care. And this is rather profound, and we were discussing this morning in this very center. For example, genomics testing at point of care and the vast body of data that will need to be accessed to diagnose and treat a unique patient will require broadband analytical computer systems to be at the fingertips of almost every caregiver. That is an extraordinary statement. The precision medicine program here at the University of Exeter will be an important contributor to this healthcare delivery realignment. The National Health Service expects several technologies to have major impact on the healthcare workforce. A short list includes molecular diagnostics, genomics, bioinformatics, monitoring technologies, implantable devices, biosensors, mobile IT devices, advanced imaging technologies, computerized image interpretation, and 3D printing, which is already in use for prosthetics. The RILD building we have opened today will be part of the solution to deliver skills and training for these and many other technologies that will be vital for 21st century precision medicine. Automated analytics to provide instant analysis will be another key to precision medicine. A wonderful example of this is IBM's Dr. Watson, which is being developed for point-of-care decision-making. Dr. Watson is able to process natural language as it's spoken. It scans huge amounts of data to answer diagnosis and treatment questions by accessing a huge library of medical information. Dr. Watson is also able to process and interpret electronic health records. IBM is working with Columbia University in New York, and it considered pitting Dr. Watson against medical residents to answer diagnostic questions. Now, this did not happen because it was decided it would be too demoralizing for the residents. Now, the new role for doctors in this future environment will navigate between empowered patients and artificial intelligence. As well as being the personal contact, doctors will increasingly take on roles as arbiters, ultimate decision makers, and ethical watchdogs in this future world. Now, as you heard, I was recently appointed the World Dementia Envoy by David Cameron. The mission I am pursuing is to accelerate the availability of new treatments for dementia through increased research and development funding and building global collaborations to spur innovation. The desired outcome is to delay the onset of dementia in a measurable way, and that's important, over the coming decade. And the Holy Grail is to treat and ultimately cure the underlying diseases and degenerative processes. State-of-the-art research in dementia includes molecular brain science, biomarker identification, which is very critical, internet collaboration, and advancing translational research, particularly the design of clinical trials, which is my own field of expertise. Big data is a huge part of this effort in dementia. The Alzheimer's Disease Neuroimaging Initiative, ADNI or ADNI, has the goal of improving diagnosis and monitoring disease progression. ADNI provides genome sequencing data. It also provides a database of cerebral spinal fluid samples. The Global CEO Initiative recently launched the Alzheimer's Big Data Challenge to identify more predictive biomarkers. It has put ADNI and other data on an open use computer platform and is challenging teams to work together on crowdsourcing data analysis. These are important initiatives and hopefully will be taken up, or maybe already are taken up here, because the diseases related to dementia threaten to be an epidemic as our own population ages. I do encourage most strongly that big data analytics become an important program in this wonderful RILD building. Now, healthcare, driven by precision medicine and evidence, will have a profound economic impact. Consider jobs and employment. The National Health Service and the social care workforce comprise around 3 million employees, or approximately 1 in 10 of those gainfully employed. I have spoken of the technology realignment that will take place in medicine, and I would like to repeat the opportunity this brings to Exeter, particularly in light of the bold precision medicine initiative the medical school under Steve Thornton's leadership is pioneering. Moreover, the UK government is putting a high priority on life sciences to make Britain a global centre of excellence, which undoubtedly plays to national strengths. However, academic talent alone will not be sufficient. Translation to products, medical therapies, and commercial enterprises will also be required in this age where knowledge-based industries will prosper. RILD can set an example of accomplishment in these translation efforts. And I do think the multidisciplinary angle is absolutely fundamental to that. Healthcare improvement and economic growth depend on a virtuous circle that is driven by investment, driving research, driving innovation, driving better outcomes, again leading to more investment in new ideas that follow on. Investment in Exeter's research and training are positioning the campus well to advance biomedical tools. The track record for turning out graduates in health-related fields speaks to impressive growth. During the past 5 years, Exeter has graduated 3,100 students in health-related fields. And during the next 5 years, this will increase by over 60% to 5,100. The medical school focus on precision medicine and the RILD Centre to support advances in translational research provide a cluster of initiatives that fit exactly into the future needs of the United Kingdom regarding healthcare delivery. Exeter is close to London by rail and has much lower operating costs than would be the case in the capital. the meteorology supercomputer and all of the associated scientists and analytics experts are also here in Exeter. This is the beginning of a high-tech knowledge cluster, which I think is extremely exciting. And it is well known that components of a cluster feed on each other to generate more innovation, more companies, and more jobs. Now, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle well knew that the master of deductive reasoning, Sherlock Holmes, had to have data, data, and more data to solve mysteries. At Exeter, there is enormous opportunity to turn data into health care intelligence, and even artificial intelligence, in the form of a digital Dr. Watson. Exeter has expertise in knowledge sectors that are driving future growth. And the investment that we see right here in RILD is expanding local infrastructure. Exeter is doing the right thing at the right time. Moreover, Sir Steve Smith is the right leader for the university, and I have great admiration for the work he is doing. This RILD Centre illustrates the point to perfection. It is my view that the genesis here will set the stage for an opportunity to help the entire National Health Service transform itself into 21st century medicine. And that will be no mean feat. But I do think today we've seen a building, and I'm delighted to say a few words to make the connections that I see possible. Data, precision medicine, and clustering these ideas into a multidisciplinary, collaborative research enterprise. Thank you. I'd be delighted to hear comments and take questions.
Dennis, thank you very much. Questions from either here or the lecture theatre? And can I ask you to use microphones so that both sides can hear, please?
Will, let me ask a question. Will the local community be able to take the development that some of this opportunity offers? Please.
Can I get you to use the microphone?
I'm Chief Executive at Exeter City Council, and I'd like to first of all applaud your address. It's absolutely spot on in terms of where we want to be as a city in terms of our economic development agenda. What you did helpfully for me was to give me a narrative to be able to engage with our colleagues, East Devon, Teambridge and the County Council, about which direction we ought to be taking as an economy, where we should be driving it, and where the future for us is in the next 10 to 20 years. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
Well, can I ask for a comment now? Do you think, though, because the development this potentially brings, which I think the university can lead, will create an inflow, it will create more buildings, it will create more jobs and more graduates, because Exeter typically, when I was here, the graduates all left and worked elsewhere. I would imagine over a 15 to 20 year period, the whole region of the Southwest could employ many of its graduates. And this will have a profound impact on the whole of the region. I remember the councillors, and I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to point at you, but I remember them being a little conservative.
I would say absolutely, and we've changed. We've got a very explicit growth agenda, and I think what you said about the university is absolutely right. Not only have they got a first-class leader, but where they're driving the city in terms of its economy is where we want to be. We absolutely have an issue about retaining graduates in this area. We therefore need to provide the job opportunities which will ensure that youngsters stay on in the city. And we've got a role for the rest of the Southwest. We absolutely have got the opportunity, which we now need to deliver on for the benefit of the whole of the Southwest. And you've got some key people from the Local Enterprise Partnership, and I absolutely hope they're taking notes, because I'd love to see what you've said be the central agenda for the Local Enterprise Partnership for this part of the world.
Thank you. If I won't say very much, because I need to declare RILD open and allow you to have a look round. But just following on from your comments, Dennis, more than 50% of our medical students do stay in the area. And I think, though, that what we do provide is excellence and a change in the healthcare environment, so that when the trusts are looking to bring in consultants, whether they be NHS consultants or academics, actually they see themselves come into an area with a very high quality of NHS trust, but also with that academic support and interaction with the university and with the medical school. So I actually think it's important for drawing individuals in, even those that we haven't trained locally, as well as providing for those that we train locally.
I'd like to also emphasize the remarks I made about the cluster. It's quite hard to get a cluster going. By a cluster, I mean, let's take the big data cluster now, both healthcare and meteorology. Clusters like that bring more expertise, attract competition, which raises the standards, which in then feeds on itself. So I think this area is at the beginning of a cluster, which I think is a very important. The Science Park would be another illustration of that.
Thank you very much. Sir Robin.
I'd like to strongly support the comments that Dennis made about multidisciplinarity or interdisciplinarity. It really is the key to the future right across the board, and it's been clear really for a number of years that that is the case. And you have to ask yourself, why do people resist multidisciplinarity? And as a simple-minded person, I think it's a form of fear. It's much easier to make a reputation for yourself in a very small, contained field than it is in a very large, multidisciplinary field. And I think, obviously, not only here in the RILD building, but in other parts of the university, like the Living Systems building, like the Environment and Sustainability Institute in Penryn, we are grasping this nettle and encouraging academics and students to think in a multidisciplinary way. And we have an advantage in not being too large. Very large universities develop single discipline silos, and it's very hard to break down those silos and make it multidisciplinary. But for the last 10 years, we've been progressing in a multidisciplinary way, and so I'm delighted to hear your endorsement of that, indeed your championing of it, as the way forward.
Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Gillings, thank you very much. Thank you for a superb talk. What I would like to say now is that RILD is open, so I would like you all to go...